All right, what's up, everybody? This is Bigfoot Videos, and today we're going to learn how to fix a rear hit. So, if you like this content and like to see more of it, or like to see some different content of the channel helping out others in need, feel free to like and subscribe right here. Thanks. So, basically, I'm just going to run through this video and kind of commentate it. So what I've done, I've already pre-pulled this on the frame machine to release all the tension in the, there was some tension up here in the quarters. You can see some waves, not quite kinks. And then this side over here on the quarter panel had gotten damaged. So I've done all that. And now I'm ready to cut out my rear body. And so I like to take my Sawzall and cut out the meat of the panel and exposing and leaving just the spot weld areas. And so what I'm doing is I'm cleaning up those spot welds where there's like seam sealer, um, and um, and there's so you can't really see the spot welds. So I clean that off those areas, and then I start grinding those with a little belt sander, or I'll use a cutoff wheel sometimes, a little skinny cutoff disc, and then I'll start as I cut away a certain section. I just start kind of breaking each weld loose as I go down. Eventually, I'll just pull off that section of panel. Um, and Jesus. So, so now I'm working over here, and I'm going to do the same thing, and I'm hitting all the spot welds up in and around the floor pan and around this frame rail end, and then onto the floor extension on this side. And this section actually, that's part of the frame rail end, so it doesn't come on the new rear body, so that stays. Now I'm just going to work on this area here, the last part of the rear body where it's welded to the floor pan. And so now all I have left is I need to hit up these sections that are on the quarter. Um, Sometimes what you will notice, it depends on how that rear body panel is put in there and how you want to weld it back on there. I'm going to be MIG welding everything, not spot welding, but MIG welding with a MIG welder. And so I will sometimes, instead of grinding off the old panel, I will drill through certain welds, and it's like kind of like pre-drilling where I'm going to be welding back up. Once you do that, hammer and dolly all your edges. I'm going to go ahead and mark all my holes on the new rear body over here and drill all those holes out. And now I'm going to hammer and dolly back those back flat so that when I put it back up on the car, that thing's ready to go, and there's not going to be any gaps in between where I need to weld the panel. I grinded all those holes so that would get good contact penetration. Now I'm going to prep the actual car, so there's no like dirt or seam sealer that will cause the weld to be bad. So I'm going to clean the front side where the panel will made up, and then I'm also going to have to clean the back side on these because there's so much seam sealer and caulking and things like that when you weld it, it actually will light that stuff on fire from the heat. So I'm actually welding the back side, or I'm grinding the back side of that to get rid of all that seam sealer. And you have to take hand scrapers and just about anything you can to get into those, behind those. If I were using a resistance spot welder on this job, you can actually do the majority of it, if not all of it, depending on the car. With a resistance spot welder, you would have to do that anyway, and you'd really have to get it even cleaner to expose that metal. So once I've got that prepped, now I'm going to continue fine tuning and making sure that everything matches up, lines up, make sure the rear body's in there, basically vertically aligned with the rest of the body part. So I don't want the body panel too high or too low out of the tolerance of the adjustment in the latch that goes right here, because when I shut the deck lid down, I need it to be within tolerance so I can do finer adjustments. And it can be very misleading if you aren't actually pre-fitting parts with, deck lid shutting versus tail lights, how they fit in there next to the tail lights built into the deck lid. And also, too, your bumper, where it aligns on this top section up here with the upper side of the bumper here. all of that comes into play. I mean, it literally has to be in a three-dimensional space within a certain degree of tolerance. So this one was hammered pretty hard. I had to do quite a bit of work on the lips there. Also, too, when I climb inside that trunk, what I'm doing is I'm fitting it without a weather strip to make sure that I've got equal gapping all the way, like equal daylight. Really is what I'm looking for. Spacing in between the, where the trunk meets up right there, and it meets up right there. So climbing into that trunk, I can get it super close by just visual inspection, and then I can go in and put my weather strip on because you can't really tell where you might have a high ridge or a low ridge when you put the weather strip on, and that can cause you some pretty significant fitting issues down the road that you just couldn't tell at the time when you were pre-fitting everything. Um, but once you're satisfied with that, then you can move your tail lights and then make sure that they're not in or out this direction, because the pocket itself where the bolts bolt in, that can actually be pushed in or out, and then your lip could be fine, um, in place where it needs to be. And so I ended up having to do some more work on that too. Once I put the taillights in there and started fitting that part, I had to realign where I had pre-bolted this in with a little sheet metal screw. So I had to realign that. Um, and I actually ended up having to slot the holes on these taillights just a little bit to get the remainder of the fit where I needed to be, because everything else was fine. So there was something else going on there that really probably should have been a replacement of a tail lamp pocket, um, but we just didn't do it that way. So once everything fits good, um, then you I actually forgot to check my bumper on this. Um, and I can't remember if I went back and checked it or not. I actually decided not to, which should end up being fine. But I've been doing this a while. Sometimes you make a judgment call. If it had been a real hard hit and I had been doing, changing a quarter or body floor pan, I would have fit everything up, which means I would have put sheet metal screws and everything, and I would have fully built it. But so now I'm just put clamps on it and you just start welding it. This isn't a welding instructional video, but essentially it's the same as anything else. You're going to get it up there, clamp it next to the spot weld you're doing, hammer it if it's not perfectly flush to the backer panel that you're welding to. In this case, right now I'm on the floor pan, um, and I'm now welding to the tail lamp pocket. So that's all that metal's got to be like fully clamped together, and no air pockets, no space in between the edges of the spot weld hole that you're welding. It just makes for a cleaner weld. And then hammer it immediately after you've welded before it cools, and that just ensures a good solid weld. Um, so yeah, just continuing to weld over here. I've already welded to the frame rail. That thicker metal on the frame rail end, and even the metal that's built onto the rear body, it's a heavier duty weld. So you have to hang out on that weld a little bit longer to get penetration into that thicker metal on the frame rail. And then, of course, it's deeper, and there's several layers of metal on the rear body. Um, but always just being mindful. You notice I have my welding blanket here to keep all the sparks off the glass and out of the interior of the car. But always be mindful of fires. With a seam sealer, even though you get most of it, it doesn't necessarily all gone. It will catch fire, so just watch for smoke and blow that out accordingly. So now, yeah, I've welded everything, and I am going to grind those welds down and finish them out. On this one, because it's so hard to get into some of these grooved areas, and it's not just a level flat panel. It's harder to grind them down like on my bedside video to where it's just like super smooth and just really pretty much ready for primer. And so sometimes, depending on what that looks like all these welds on this actually looked, even though they were mounded to a degree, They actually looked really good. I could have actually not grinded these at all, and just painted over them and just like sanded them. Um, but I ended up grinding these pretty good still, nonetheless, and didn't really need to put any kind of Bondo. There weren't porousness. I didn't have to re-weld any. Um, and So now I'm just going to fix this quarter panel. There's a little bit of a dent there. It sucked it in right here, and I had actually, I don't think I recorded it. I think my camera might have died or something. I didn't realize it, but I was able to work this dent from the back side inside this panel with a hammer and a dolly. I think I'd done that before I actually did the rear body as I was pre-pulling it. And so really it was just ready to be sanded and white Bondo on it. Very, very minimal amount. And so we didn't paint this one either um, on video. So, but we got some. I had Dad get some pictures of it after we were done. Basically, I just finished out this bonded section, bonded up on my tail lamp pockets because those are actually exposed and visible, and they were just. I mean, I hammered and dodged the mess out of them. It needed Bondo on them for sure, but everything else all looked clean on these welds behind the bumper, so I didn't have to wipe any Bondo on those. Um, let's see. Um, and once it's Bondo, then it's just a matter of scuff and shoot, prime it, scuff it, shoot it, paint. Um, I wiped for pinholes when you're wiping Bondo. Do micro pinholes or regular size pinholes. Make sure you don't have any pinholes in your Bondo work. But yeah, that pretty much finished that up, and the final painted shot should pop up here any second now. So you see, pretty sharp. Dad paints all the cars, and he usually does the body work. I just help out every once in a while, um, on the weekends or in the evenings or something like that, or um, just to help him out. So it looked pretty good. This out here. I mean, we got that line. This was bad. I mean, this was all very bad. Obviously, right after the wreck, but I mean, the lines look so good. Those gaps and the deck lid, it shut good. So, um, yeah, this side here, just looking at it again. Yeah, those lines just looked, the corners matched up real well. Corners of the tail lights matched up real well with each other. This one's hard to see, but from this angle, but this is that gap I was talking about earlier. If you don't get your rear body in vertically within tolerance of adjustment of the latches and the catch and everything, but you don't have much on the deck lid, to be frank, then yeah, you're going to have some problems. Like your deck lid's literally going to be hitting your bumper, and you really can't do much about that because that bracket that bumper goes on is welded onto the rear body. There's not really up and down adjustment of the bumper itself. You're mainly going to be working with the deck lid up and down, and you only have so much adjustment there because it has to align here and here with that quarter panel. That's why I always say, anything harder than that you hit than this, you pretty much have to pre-fit everything, bumper and all. Even with the 3D measuring systems, it can be difficult to know that you're getting everything lined up properly. So that's it, guys. Just wanted to go over that with you. I'm happy to um, answer any questions you have. If you have those, just leave them in the comment section here down below. Also, always open to constructive criticism or just different techniques, um, things that you would do differently. That's part of what I've learned over the years, learning from old school body men, new school body men, new school trainings. new equipment, old equipment, and then just my own general flavor on how to get good car fixed quality. So happy to take that constructive criticism as well. So hope you enjoyed the video. Thanks. And if you've enjoyed this video and you'd like to see more of this, or if you'd like to see some new content like the channel helping out others in need, then make sure to like and subscribe right here. Thanks.